All right, welcome back, everybody. It is me, OC Steve, and this time I'm not talking to myself by myself. Me, myself, and I is not an equation this time around. I have a guest on. I have the creator, the originator, future Comicsgate campaign guy himself, Mr. Joe M. Sonntag, creator of Reaper Destroyer, joining me. I appreciate your time here, Joe. I always appreciate being a guest on your channel too, man. It's a lot of fun. It's nice to be a guy that gets to sit in the corner, especially being somebody who backs a lot of these campaigns and gets invited to talk on more pros about comic and geek culture, man.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be on your show for a change. I like it. You know, it's nice to be the guest every once in a while. So thank you for having me.
Less pressure on the shoulders there. So
exactly.
So once a week, a little diving into pop culture. So 2 trailers came out and some other stuff. So we're going to kind of digest the week that was for geek culture. First out of the gate, we have a second trailer for Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings that just dropped. It gives us kind of an idea a little bit more about what the movie's going to be about. It's kind of like Marvel's MCU version of Mortal Kombat because they're going to have a tournament. They really dive deep into who the Mandarin is. I mean, the last time we even heard about his name or anything like that was in Iron Man 3, and we kind of had that Trevor kind of knockoff Mandarin.
Yeah, that was a pretty big disappointment in that movie, the way they handled that. So I don't know if they're going to try to redeem themselves with this or not. Judging from the trailers so far, I don't know. I guess it's a wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, essentially the storyline is focused on Shang-Chi, and he's kind of like the adopted kid of the Mandarin who left that world behind him with the 10 rings, moved to the West Coast, but kind of like Godfather-esque. He's being drawn into this tournament to kind of deem who's going to be the next leader or who's going to get 5 or 10 of the rings. Who knows? So that's essentially the core of this. Like, you can kind of see him using powers, which I'm not too familiar with Shang-Chi. I know that he was like kind of like the go-to martial arts guy that trained everybody. Like, you have Taskmaster for all the baddies who sends their henchmen and all those other guys to go learn different fighting styles from him. And then on the flip side, for the heroes, they always had Shang-Chi as kind of like the good martial arts teacher for everybody else, like Captain America, Spider-Man, like just recently started actually learning some other combat styles and stuff other than jumping around and doing acrobatics and shooting webs. He kind of actually learned how to throw a kick and throw a fist from Shang-Chi. And he's been kind of like this tertiary Avenger, if you will. Like, hey, we're going to go fight in Madripoor, and we don't have Wolverine, so let's get Shang-Chi on board.
Now, Shang-Chi originally was supposed to be like a Bruce Lee kind of knockoff for Marvel back in the day, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's essentially what he was. He didn't really have powers. I mean, they already had Iron Fist at the time developed, so they had their dude with chi-based powers. So Shang-Chi was more just like general, like, I'm great at every martial art ever and every martial art weapon. So he kind of filled that gap for them, but they've been kind of developing his character. Now he's more on like the C list of Avengers now, at least in modern Marvel comic books. So we got that going on. But I think the thing that everybody's losing their minds over is that this tournament is going to incorporate a lot of characters. A lot of ground is going to be tracked on it. And this was the one clip in the trailer. If you blink, you'll miss it. This is supposed to be Wong from Doctor Strange.
Okay.
And then they actually brought back Abomination himself. And so this is like a little 5-10 second blip in the trailer where it shows Wong setting up like one of those protecting diagram Doctor Strange things. And then you just see like Abomination smash through it.
So it'd be kind of cool to see Abomination again. That was probably the best Hulk movie, the Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton and the Abomination. I actually really dug that when it came out. I thought the story was cool, the effects were cool, the characters were cool. To see the Abomination again, I think will be cool. It depends on how they're using him. Is it going to be just like, a minute thing where they're showing him fight this character? And also, how did they all get into the tournament? I think will be interesting to see. Full disclosure, I'm not extremely excited about this movie. I will check it out at some point. I do like a good martial arts movie. But I never followed this character in the comics, never really cared one bit about him. So I'll go into the movie with basically eyes wide open, brand new look, brand new take on it. So I just want to be entertained by a lot of stuff. That's it. And who knows? Who knows?
I just think it's funny with the shared universe that Marvel has been pushing for 20 odd movies. When somebody sees this, they're just like still like, oh my God, it's happening. It's like, well, you kind of know it's they're gonna do stuff like this now and then. I mean, yeah, it's a surprise curveball, and technically he's not dead like in the Hulk movies. Like how that ended, spoilers aside, that was almost 15.
Spoilers.
It was like almost
ruined it for somebody.
10 and change that this movie was around. But hey, sometimes a little fan service is good,
Oh yeah, I mean,
give the sweaties what they want. So we got
all about fan service when you can do it and it's done right. I mean, if certain people want to see things, then put it in the movies. And if you got characters, you got this catalog of characters, and then drop them in the movies. And the way that the contracts are rolling out now between Marvel/Disney and some of the other studios that own their characters, I hear that they're getting certain characters back, or they're being able to use certain characters again, this or that. So you might see some of that now going forward. And as long as Disney doesn't mess up, or Marvel doesn't mess up their phase 4, which I'm highly skeptical of, then, who knows? Who knows what they can do?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that they got Daredevil back, so, Charlie Cox is going to be showing up besides
cool.
She-Hulk being one lawyer in the MCU. He's going to kind of be the other lawyer. They said that he shot some stuff for the new Hawkeye series on Disney Plus, so he might have a little. I didn't hear that yet. That's cool. Had a little cameo that he might be popping up there for a minute to give some legal counsel to Clint Barton. Who knows?
Well, so far, the Netflix series has far away killed the Disney Plus series that they put out. Nothing against the Disney Plus series that they put out, but Netflix Daredevil is still, I think, one of the best superhero adaptation series that I've seen. I mean, they did a great job with that, and Charlie Cox was a great Matt Murdock / Daredevil in that. So I'm excited to see him coming back.
So yeah, I'm glad that he kind of survived their cataclysmic Netflix destruction. He's one of the few that did. He's probably one of the strongest ones that did. So
I heard the same thing with John Bernthal too, with the Punisher, that he was supposed to, that Marvel wanted to keep him around as a Punisher, retool him, reboot him, and put him into the MCU, as a Punisher, as Frank Castle still. So see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's rumors that he might be in Moon Knight, so
I'd be down with that.
He might pop up, and you might blink and miss him. You might see the skull on the good old bulletproof vest there. So,
well, now there's a thing too. Like Moon Knight is one of my favorite characters. If you know my comic book character, I derive a lot of a look from that character. But if they mess that series up, I'm just saying I'm going to be very, very put out if they mess up Moon Knight. I'll say that right now.
I've been seeing good old Oscar Isaac putting in the work, man. They have some stuff on the internets, if you will. If you have your fingers, do some searching of him training, some really good hand-to-hand combat, him putting in the work. So
we'll see.
I just hope they do it right.
They can make it. They can make it awesome.
Moon Knight's not the easiest character to adapt, especially well.
Yeah, I agree with you. So we'll be watching closely.
Yes. The next trailer that dropped was trailer number 2, Electric Boogaloo for Snake Eyes. Essentially what this movie is the softest reboot of the G.I. Joe franchise that they had. I mean, they tried that stuff with Channing Tatum, and they had the Rack in it for a minute. The Rack played Road Black. So, and so this is their way of going. This is they're kind of taking the Deadpool approach to it, where they're doing a more lower budget movie, lower amount of cast, and then just focusing kind of with the conflict of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow as the introductory way to get into the G.I. Joe universe. And then somehow midway through this movie, they're infusing the G.I. Joe and Cobra fight on top of that.
Right.
So you have Samara Weaving, Hugo Weaving's niece from Bill and Ted 3, playing Scarlet in this film. So that's one of the bigger actors or actresses that are in that movie. The guy who's playing Storm Shadow is the lead on the show Warrior on HBO Plus. So it's not like a big star-studded cast. They're really trying to hone it in on a lower budget.
You want to talk about some good martial artists, though? Yeah. I mean, this show should probably have some really good choreographed fight scenes, if nothing else, because the Warrior is awesome.
That trope where you start out and he's a cage fighter, kind of like the Mortal Kombat movie. I kind of start laughing at this trope where everybody's just cage fighting for money. Like, I'm going to beat the crap out of you and I'm going to make some money and nobody ever going to know about it.
If you're a martial artist, you're fighting underground for some reason.
All the time.
Making money all the time. That's just what you do.
You're always fighting in meat packing districts and warehouses in the middle of nowhere. So that's where Snake Eyes gets his start. Essentially, he defends Storm Shadow, like one of the guys who's running this, like throws a gun at him and he's like, kill him. And he's like, he doesn't. And so they both fight back to back, kind of gung ho style. They get out of there and Storm Shadow goes, hey, you're a badass and you saved my life. So I'm going to have you join my ninja clan. So then that's where the movie kind of sets off. They head back to Japan. They kind of get involved. They find out about who's Cobra and what's Cobra going on with that. And so that's kind of the major plot point. I mean, I don't know. I just think it would have just been better just to have a movie where it was just Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and let that kind of be the big meat and potatoes of this film. And then maybe the next movie be about that they go their separate ways, because there's a lot of history between those two characters that you could just have a 90-minute movie about and not even have G.I. Joe or Cobra in it.
Well, they're obviously trying to push it to reboot G.I. Joe or bring some relevance back to that at some point. Otherwise, they wouldn't have it in the Snake Eyes title of the G.I. Joe Origins. And, it's no surprise that this is going to be that the trailer is dropping just about the time that Rob Liefeld's last issue of Snake Eyes is going to hit shelves here. They're definitely trying to make a push for this character. You have Liefeld's miniseries of Snake Eyes hitting the stores. You got this movie upcoming. So they're really trying to rev it up behind this character. It's like they staked the G.I. Joe franchise on this character. This is now like the Wolverine of the G.I. Joe universe. Like they're going to build around this guy going forward, I feel. Just, it's always been a cool character.
Yeah, I mean, they're really just trying to go, hey, this is our Deadpool. And this is
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, literally, Case, like, look at like this. Like, even in the trailer, he puts the helmet on and then hits the button, and it like just kind of like Iron Man style. So I don't know, there's something about this to me. Like, these movies are like they're trying to go for that kind of like martial arts feel of the 70s and 80s, but they're also trying to infuse a budget into it. And it's like I almost just wish they kind of would go with like a Tarantino-esque kind of medium budget, medium production, and focus more just on the conflict of these two guys and not give us too many visuals, like just kind of keep it like as a grudge match between these two guys, because the core of the story is that Snake Eyes eventually gets on the outs of the clan and then Storm Shadow blames him for the murder of their master, which is really Cobra killed the master in that situation. I really doubt they're going to have the guy who kills him in the continuity of the G.I. Joe universe. I don't think they're going to be introducing Zartan anytime too soon, because that's a character that you kind of got to, if you don't do him right, then it comes off weird, like Arnold Vosloo did in the G.I. Joe films, where he's this guy that is chameleon essentially from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And if you don't introduce him right, then you don't get the whole, like, the Dreadnoks, and they're this punk rock metal band that doesn't give a shit about anything, and they just join Cobra because they want to just blow shit up. So
we'll see what they do with this. I mean, again, just like with Shang Chi, it's got a potential to be pretty decent, because I'm a huge martial arts fan when it comes to movies. Like I'm a sucker for good martial arts movies, because I just want to see people fight. I have good choreographed fight scenes and throwing kicks and punches. So if you give me enough of that and have it done well and give me a decent story behind it, I'll be entertained. I'm easily entertained. I'm not looking for Shakespeare here. Just entertain me a little bit, and I'll buy your movie.
Yeah, just give me the reason why these two people are at ends with each other. What's the central conflict, and they eventually got to come to a head at the end of the movie.
Yep.
Which like in G.I. Joe lore was always funky, because it's like, okay, obviously, Storm Shadow took over the clan. He sides with Cobra, and Snake Eyes is just pissed at Storm Shadow in general. So he joins any group possible. It's not like initially he joins G.I. Joe for all the best reasons. He's just joining it to be a foil to Storm Shadow. And then ultimately through the course of G.I. Joe, he understands the principles and gets a sense of family and community. So, obviously that'll probably be the breadcrumbs that'll come along with it in the future for G.I. Joe.
Plus, who doesn't want to be the ninja?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, that was always his token thing. You had in the Channing Tatum series, they're in these bio like super suits, and he's still kicking ass and taking names, and he's just a ninja. And,
Yep.
And so then the other thing that dropped this week that I had a chance to read, 60-ish pages, was the new launching point for Todd's universe. I know Malin had some counter opinions. He thought it was 20 years too late for this Spawn universe thing. But I think we'll see. I mean, Todd's always been one of those guys. You back whatever he does, and it usually turns out okay. Like I've never had any qualms with being a Spawn fan. Where this is just like, if anything, I think that this should have been 2 issues, because you get like a core storyline that kind of like. Problem is that you really got to read the 10 previous issues of Spawn before reading this, because there's footnotes everywhere in the centralized story, like read Spawn issues 109 through 119, like, and you're like, okay, well, this isn't really a self-contained thing. It kind of is and kind of isn't. So at its core, it kind of explains what the groundwork for the Spawn universe is going to be moving forward. The Al Simmons Spawn character has closed off all the dimensional portals between heaven and hell. So nobody's getting in, but more importantly, nobody's getting out. And so it's the forces of heaven and hell that are locked on Earth that now have to deal with it. And now Spawn's kind of like systematically trying to go at them, but he can't do it alone because he's just overwhelmed. So that's why they created, or he brought back to life, all these other Spawn characters like Gunslinger, She-Spawn, Pirate Spawn, Medieval Spawn's back, because kind of the big bad is Omega Spawn, which is a newer evil Spawn that they created. So just that's kind of the story at its core. And so then there's smaller little self-contained issues for Gunslinger Spawn, She-Spawn, and Medieval Spawn. And then they introduce a couple new villains that they created that are kind of a foil to kind of like their watcher, the Cogless, the wizard guy that they always
Cogliostro.
Cogliostro.
However you pronounce it.
We're both butchering it, but essentially they kind of introduce like an evil version of him for all the evil guys to rally behind. So you're going to they set a lot of framework up in this 60 issues. You get a lot for your $6. So I enjoyed it. We got Scott J. Campbell actually not drawing chicks. So
I was happy to see the talent that he brought onto the book. J. Scott Campbell, I love his work. It's good to see him on Spawn. I like the stuff that he's done over the last few years, drawing covers for Spawn here and there, at least with 300. And obviously Brett Booth coming on and doing some art with everything is great. And a lot of the other artists too. Like it's got really good art, and I appreciate that because a lot of comics these days don't have good art as the standard that I hold as good. So hats off to Todd McFarlane. He was trying to do something to at least break away from the pack a little bit, and just he's creating his own universe within Image. Like, I don't know what that says, but it says that he's taking matters into his own hands. Like, he's expanding this universe greatly. You got King Spawn gonna be coming out. The Scorch is gonna be coming out.
Yeah, which is kind of like his Avengers Spawn universe team book, where good guys and bad guys are going to kind of be teaming up to take out common threats.
Now, my only worry is is it too much Spawn? Because you just got different variations of the Spawn character throughout history or multiverse or whatever. Is it just going to be too much because it's too Spawn centric? But
that was kind of one of the funny moments, like in this issue where they had Gunslinger Spawn, and like he writes it in a caption bubble. Like, he grabs 2 guns that are not like his pistols, and he's like, apparently Gunslinger Spawn's good with anything with a trigger. Is kind of like his thing. So like, he's a master of all firearms, if you will. So it's kind of a weird trope, if you like, but I see where he's kind of branching out. You're going to have to probably give this some traction time for a couple months, where the creative teams are going to kind of have to develop their own take, their own stance. And these characters are going to have to branch out of Spawn itself proper. It's just my kind of concern is that where is the original 120 Spawn going to go? Like, what's going to be its source? And is it going to lose too much of its aim with all these other Spawn things? So it's going to be some interesting things. I think it's a challenge that Todd wants to present himself with, because it's like, okay, I've done Spawn. Now I want to do my own shared universe. I kind of want to be more of a, kind of sitting on the side of being the publisher and head editor of all this and create other opportunities for other people. Because I think the last time you really lent Spawn to Image proper was that Invincible War story arc. And that was really about it. That's where a lot of the other Image characters showed up, like Savage Dragon, your Tech Jacket, your Spawn, kind of like, even a couple of the other guys that were on that hadn't really been used before. Like they had a couple Cyberforce characters show up in that.
Yeah.
So that's the last big Image universe event. So he's like, well, if you're not going to do a lot of shared universe stuff, I'm just going to go off and make my own thing.
Yeah, which I think is smart because you have so many of the other studios have fallen off. Image is a shell of its former self. You still have Savage Dragon around. Top Cow is doing a bunch of stuff that's not really centered around Cyberforce anymore and all these characters. The original Image is pretty much dead with the exception of Spawn. So might as well do his own universe so we can have these massive stories without having to try to find out who's still kind of poking around there in the Image universe. And, just let the rest of Image do what they do. Todd, focus on yourself, grow this even more. My money is behind it. It's one of the few books I still kind of support in the main two, the big two. So I'm all about it, and I'm giving them a chance. I'm giving it a chance. I don't know how long I'm going to give it. You got to win me over pretty fast, but it's something that I'm pretty excited about.
And then the pre-orders for the Spawn Universe Wave 1 of toys. I know before we started recording, you had your qualms about Beefy Violator here.
Yeah. I mean, it looks cool. Don't get me wrong. The toy looks cool. I just, when I first saw this, I thought it was like one of the Violator's brothers. I didn't think it was the Violator himself. I thought it was like the Vindicator or whatever his other brothers' names are. And I was just like, that's an interesting take for
Beefy boy.
Yeah, the Violator, but it's a cool visual.
And then a couple of so he said that's going to be initially Wave 1, but Gunslinger is exclusive to Target.
Now that looks badass.
So I pre-ordered this bad boy. So unlike his Kickstarter campaign, that had a lot of controversy where people weren't getting his toys, he's already came out and said that Target's going to do it, and it's going to ship like late August. So we're not even going to be waiting close to 2 months to get it.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to pre-order this then. But yeah, because this is one I want. I want this. That looks really, really cool.
So and the box art's neat. I like all the individual, like the bandolier, the pistols are articulated. Everything looks good on this figure. So that's a nice little conversation piece.
Yeah.
And then, so as always in closing, we talked about some pop culture stuff. We kind of talked about the week that was, about some footnotes. I like to always wrap up with being Comicsgate, not being Comicsgate adjacent or being a friend or a foe or a foil of it. I'm Comicsgate through and through. So you take the good, you take the bad. It's a title. We enjoy each other's company, conversation, and the culture that we're creating. As the mainstream slowly is eroding, we are setting our foundation moving forward into the future because people are going to want to hop on this party. There's always room on the bandwagon.
That's true.
I look at it this way. We're
welcome.
We're creating a block party, and if you want to come, you just got to come and enjoy it. Be able to laugh at things, not take stuff too seriously, not get your feelers hurt, if you will. Know that it comes from a place where we're just busting each other's chops. In hockey, from my former days of being a goalie, it's called being chirping. You're just having a good time.
Yep.
If you can't laugh, then you know that you're taking yourself too seriously. So I want to talk about good old moral compasses, Mark Poulton's book, Viking Wolf. We've got about 13-ish hours left before it goes into demand. It has already been backed. You had a fixed goal of $500. You lent your voice talents, if you will, to the intro. So I will give the floor to you to talk about Viking Wolf.
I mean, as far as what I was involved in Viking Wolf was just two things. I did a little bit of voice acting in the trailer. So if anybody goes to that campaign, watch the trailer. The voice you hear saying Viking Wolf or yelling it or screaming it is me. That was fun to do. I was happy when Mark reached out to me to do that because I do have a background in music, as a heavy metal singer. So it was nice to jump back into that a little bit. But I also got the opportunity to have the first stretch goal. I did the art for the $5,000 stretch goal trading card, which is going to be a chrome card. So that was nice. That was fun. And so that's what I contributed to this campaign. But Mark's a great guy. He fulfills all his campaigns. He has tons of stuff. I mean, he's very reliable. He's a great writer. He's a really good artist too. So I would encourage everybody to check this out if you haven't checked it out yet. I know they just crossed the 15,000 mark, which means you got the Mike McMahon Artist of U.S. Assassin trading card that will be a part of this as well. So yeah, jump on board, guys. It's gonna be worth it. Really good art, good story, cool character. Love the design. Plus, if you go up a little bit, we have our friend Leandro, who was starring
Getting blown
in this,
up.
getting blown
Yeah.
up. You know,
Just
so
getting destroyed.
yeah. He's a star now.
Which in Reaper Destroyer, you need to have Leandro blown up
I might have to
somehow.
I might have to sneak him in there. Yeah.
You know, if there's a guy that kind of looks like me, just showing up, reporting the news, reporting the violence after it happened. You know, the sausage has already been made at the factory, and I'm just kind of like that Boondock Saints level guy going, "Look at this." But I enjoy the art. You know, I think it's cool. I think you know the metal tone and you lending your talents, dusting off the vocal chops there to kind of, you know, with the Comicsgate campaign in itself. I always like when something's tongue in cheek, you know, but in service of it being very metal based and kind of like really focusing on that kind of like heavy metal core. So I've backed this too. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was like, hey, why not? You know, let's have a romp. You know, not everything needs to be crazy. It can just be a self-contained story and just have a good time. That's kind of the nice thing about stuff that's Comicsgate campaigns is that, you know, you pick your poison, whatever your polarity is, you find it, you back it. You don't have to back everything. There is no super fans in this society. We're just customers participating in a crowdfunding event and backing our dollars for something that we want to see and we want to enjoy. So that's essentially what Comicsgate is at Central. You get to actually vote and you get to see something that you enjoy come into existence. So hopefully, maybe if people didn't get on the ground floor, they can get it later when they move it over to their online marketplace or wherever down the line. So that's what Ethan does. That's what a lot of the creators do. So they incentivize their backers. Essentially, you're going to get it at the cheapest and you're going to get it first. And you're going to get a couple extra tchotchkes along the way. So I always like that this is an ever-evolving crowdfunding community. You know, obviously the metal cards are the new trend right now. Everybody's getting those. So I always like that there's something new on the horizon that somebody's adding as a stretch goal to their campaigns. And so the future's bright over here. We're having a lot of fun. You know, like
absolutely.
There's something for everybody. You have Monster MD, which is kind of like filling your classic Universal horror and gore. You have, you know, your Graveyard Shift, which is more kind of your X-Men kind of based kind of style team format. You also have US Assassin, which is kind of like your answer to G.I. Joe. You have Cyber Frog, which is kind of like, you know, if you're hearkening for something that's more back in the 90s and it's more sci-fi and it leans more into your adult content, you got that. You got your book coming out, which is going to be dropping next year that I'm excited about. I kind of enjoy kind of more of those kind of more like supernatural characters is the best way, with my novice experience of Reaper Destroyer. But
that's basically what it is. Yeah. It's a supernatural dark hero, you know, kind of like the Darkness, Spawn, you know, like that kind of stuff. It's not just a straight up superhero book, but it's got a little bit of supernatural, sci-fi, a little bit of horror feel behind it. Yeah.
So, you know, you hit all those touchstones and then you got something that's so left field like Cecil's cash grab.
Yeah.
So we cover a lot of genres in Comicsgate, but the thing is it's just meant to be fun. We're not here pushing our personal beliefs, our politics, any of that other stuff that they try to throw back at us and say that you do X, Y, and Z. We don't do it. You know, we just want to make books for the sake of making books, putting out stuff that we believe in and having a good time doing it and letting people enjoy the ride and being involved with your customers, being involved with your fan base and engaging them. And I think that's what's really cool. And me just being a geek off the street, getting opportunities to talk to guys like you that are masters of your craft artistically, doing what they do and giving me some time and coming on here, it really means a lot to me.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we make books for everybody. That's the goal. It's not geared to one particular person or ideal. You know, we don't care what sexual orientation you are, what political side of the fence you're on, what religious view you have. we're just making books for everybody that wants to buy them, and that's what I like about it. You know, it's kind of like kind of like a throwback to the '90s in a way. You know, it's just good characters, fun stories, and it's best art that we can do. That's what we're doing, and the books are for anybody to enjoy, no matter where you stand or what you believe.
Yep. So in closing, Joe, let's hit home your social medias, your YouTube channel, the whole nine. The floor is yours.
You can find me on all the social medias, you know, Twitter, Facebook. Well, mostly Twitter. I'm not on Facebook a lot anymore. So Twitter and Instagram under Joe M. Sonntag or Joe Sonntag. Type that in. You're going to find me. YouTube under Joe M. Sonntag. I have my own channel, which will be going into doing more videos soon. I'm going to be doing a series called Appreciating Comic Book Art Live, which we're going to be going over a bunch of stuff. We're going to start going over Dale Keown's Pit, the entire 20-issue run. I know OC Steve is going to be there with me. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to have other guests. It's going to be fun. It's going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The date is going to be announced here shortly when we're going to start that. Also, I have a show called Ott and Stuff with my co-host Sean Arendt that we do on Wednesdays and Fridays. You can find that if you just go in and type in Ott and Stuff. That's AH'T'n''Stuff. That's the only way you can find it. It's a hard title. Type that in, you'll get it. Wednesdays and Fridays at 9:00.
So that's where you can find the man. That's where you can find the myth, the legend, the creative content with him and Sean. And also, eventually, Type 1 will be coming out next year. I bought the ash can for Sean. So this Type 2 diabetic supported a Type 1 as the tagline. I hope that's on the back of his box.
He should.
I wouldn't mind being quoted on that.
You should put it on there. Yeah.
And then are you doing anything for Reaper Destroyer kind of similar? Or?
I don't know yet. I'm trying to get together an ash can, but I don't know if I'm going to put that out beforehand for purchase or if I'm going to have it as part of whoever signs up early is going to get a sneak peek at the first scene of the book. So a little free taste, you know, so I can get you addicted and bring you back for more. But we'll see. It's still kind of up in the air. Cool.
So that's the geek news for now. As always, thanks everybody for sitting through, watching the entire video. This is a little labor of love for me. Still got a 9 to 5, but I like chewing the geek fat, so to speak. So, throw the comments as always in below, like this video, share it with your fellow geeks and gals in your life. Just want to keep the conversation going. You know, pop culture sometimes is a little bit weird here and there and everywhere, but let's talk about it. More importantly, let's shed a light on crowdfunding and get that stigma. We're a fun group of, everybody, creators, fans, geeks, gals, everybody in between. These are just labors of love. And we want to make sure that you guys have, one, know about it, and two, have a good time doing it. So thanks as always. And we'll catch you on the next video. You guys have a good one.
See y'all later.